We're good to go.
All right, we're good. You look so like you're in fall with
I know
like
I
your
do, right?
with the black hat and the
My striped
stripes.
shirt. Yeah.
You're like giving Aria tonight with the stripes.
Well, I do love me some October and fall vibes.
Yeah, same. I'm like
Yeah.
I'm ready for
No,
spring,
me too, but I look
of
fall.
course.
I
Me
look
too.
very, very fall.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm in black
Yeah.
and I have dark nails. Like I'm like feeling it. Oh,
I do
yours are
have spring
cute.
nails. I do have spring nails.
Cause all me is spring.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we'll get into I was gonna say listener question. It's actually a YouTube subscriber question.
Woohoo.
Jordy,
Hey, Jordy.
they say, I kept thinking Ren is like PLL's Jack Bass because he keeps popping up randomly in the series and is super annoying, but now I think it's actually Noel Khan. Both of them are more outwardly evil, and Noel also pops up occasionally throughout the series to stir up and piss people off. What do you guys think? For other comparisons, I feel like I get a bit of Stefan from Vampire Diaries for Toby before the reveal, and a little bit of Caleb. Georgina from Gossip Girl reminds me a lot of Mona, RIP Michelle Trachtenberg, with the humor and plotting. Someone said Quinn from Glee is like Allison, with a really hard exterior, but has a lot of inner turmoil that probably makes her that way. Obviously, Nate and Hannah both went through having everything to having nothing storylines, and then somehow it went away, and I don't really see their characters similar otherwise. Do you have any other comparisons of PLL characters and characters from other shows?
Wow, wow, wow. Well, I just want to start with the Jack Bass of it all.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to bring him in and compare him first to Ren and then compare him to Noel
Noel
Khan.
Khan. I mean,
I
your brain is probably like, what is happening
It
here?
really is because I have not seen the entirety of the series, obviously. So to me, I don't get the comparison of Jack Bass to Noel Khan. Do you? Does this make sense?
In a way, honestly, I think now I don't remember. I know there's more to come with like obviously with Ren and Noel,
Sure.
but I feel like Jack Bass, he's just evil and disgusting, but he also it's a really funny character. And then by the end of the show, yeah, we like don't discount the things he did, but he is laughable.
Totally.
I don't feel that way with Noel or Ren. So
I know. Right. At
I
this point,
don't
anyway.
know. At this point, that's hard for me to say because from what I remember, I don't think that they're like Jack Bass.
Right. Moving on to the Stefan. I've
Michelle
never
has
seen
never
Vampire
seen
Diaries.
Vampire Diaries, but I like the comparison. I do.
Yeah,
I feel Stefan.
that works.
It works for me. It works for me for and when I thought about this question, I did have kind of interchangeable between Toby and Caleb a little bit of who people reminded me of them. So yeah, I like Stefan. I think Stefan, at least pre a team reveal, yes, that works well. Yeah. Then they have Georgina for Mona, which I personally feel like is Blair Waldorf, just
Same.
unhinged.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
I get more of Blair than Georgina.
I get why. I feel like Georgina, like Mona, I don't know. It's so hard. Like I totally see the comparison of Georgina and Mona. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess because Mona is more of a main character than I feel Georgina was, then I feel like we get a little bit more of layers with Mona, like how we do with Blair. I also get like a little Taylor Townsend with Mona, just like the way
Absolutely.
she presents herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Who else do you have as a comparison?
Well, I think this goes episode by episode. And I actually said this on our watch last week, 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. Hannah Marissa.
Hannah Marissa. See, I have Hannah Summer.
I see where you're going with that, but it was really Hannah trying to work with Caleb
Yeah.
to get him to talk to his dad
Mhm.
and just wanting everyone to get along and putting herself in for the greater good, or so what she thinks is the greater good. That gives very much Marissa Cooper vibes.
I agree with that.
But
And
that's why it's
I
episode by episode.
totally, and that's kind of why I was leaning towards Summer too for Hannah,
Yeah.
because they both have that like a little bit of like a they see red instantly and they kind of like snap, but then they're also like really sweet inside. They
Yeah.
also really like fashion and magazines and all that kind of that world too. And like while in the beginning Hannah and both Summer and Hannah were kind of like, oh, are you mean girl esque, but then immediately you're like, no, they're good people.
Right.
Yeah.
I struggled with other comparisons, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
I feel like I just wrote down a few and I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. So I have Emily. My gut told me, and I know we've talked about this and I know listeners have spoken about it, but she to me, I feel is very much Matt Saracen. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, for a few reasons, I feel like they're
Okay.
so loyal and then they're also athletic, but by the end of the show, they really come into who they are as a person and is very lovable and puts their friends first and has to find themselves, but they eventually do. And, army kids, I just feel like
Yeah. Good
they're
point
similar
about the
in a
Army
way.
kids. Yes.
Yeah.
That was good. That's great.
I have, and this is from my memory alone, but I feel like Spencer is very Veronica Mars. And I
Yeah.
don't really remember anything that I loved Veronica Mars so much, but I watched it in such a blur that I feel I could be misrepresenting her by saying she's like Spencer.
Well, I think because they're both into solving
Yeah,
mysteries. So I think that fits. And Spencer is so good at it, and obviously Veronica Mars was so good at it.
so good. And I feel like Veronica is more standoffish, maybe emotionally, at least in the I see for the majority of the show. Like
Yeah.
her relationships with people, like she kind of like keeps to herself a little bit, and I feel like Spencer kind of has that a
Yeah.
little bit too. I struggled with Arya. I had seen, and this is actually I did think about this, and you won't get the reference obviously, but Elena Gilbert from Vampire Diaries, similarities there. I also have Caleb. We laugh because he's sketchy Tim Riggins, but I truly feel he's way more like Ryan Atwood with less
It's
anger.
so interesting you said that, because I was really trying to pick out our boys from One Tree Hill and OC and compare them to our PLL
He might be
boys.
a little Lucas.
Yeah, but I just couldn't do it because Caleb is just not as rough as Ryan.
No, and that's why I also leaned a little bit towards Toby with Ryan because
Oh,
Toby
we've
definitely
talked
has
about
that
that. We
he has
have
that
talked
violent
about that.
side. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. We've talked about that. Maybe
Mhm.
because Toby's not in a good light right now, and so it didn't make me
No.
think Ryan Atwood.
Right. No, and I totally get that. But this is all like obviously pre A team, and I
3A.
also I
Yeah.
also thought about I was trying to think of like all the shows that we've watched, and I came up with Conrad Fisher from Summer I Turned Pretty. I feel like there could be a lot of comparisons between him and Toby too, especially like as
Yeah.
the show goes on, you'll see a little bit more about his home life and relationships and things like that. So I thought maybe we could compare them.
Yeah, that's good.
I also have Mr. Ezra Fitz is Daniel Humphrey. Is Daniel Humphrey.
That's good. That is good.
Mm,
That definitely.
in so many ways. It's
Yes. And it makes the most sense out of all of our shows of who Ezra would be most like. Ugh.
I
Yeah.
know. And then lastly, I have Allison, and as a joke, I put Rachel Katina because I literally could not think of any other
I'm so glad, because I
girl.
had Rachel on my list, and I was like, who would Rachel be in the PLL world, or who can I compare her character to? And I wanted her to fit somewhere, and I just couldn't pinpoint it. So I'm really glad I had Rachel. I'm like, who would Rachel be? Because I was trying to, I think my brain is like, who is on the level of evil.
I know, and the shows we've watched,
It's tough.
it's tough. Like
This is a different show.
it
It's
is
just a
different.
different show.
I guess one could say Blair is definitely a mean girl, but then we see so much inner turmoil, like how Jordy said with Quinn from Glee. I didn't finish Glee, and I remember her in the beginning of the show was a nasty person. I don't know if
Right.
she was as mean as Allison,
I know. Yeah, I don't remember that.
but it was hard for me to. I even looked up like mean girls and shows, and none of them really. I mean, Allie was on every single one of the list,
Oh, I'm sure
you
she
know,
was.
but no one really compares to that type of mean, at least now.
Yeah. And you were smart to think outside the box of like Veronica Mars, Summer I Turned Pretty. I
I
was
was
literally
trying.
just thinking of our shows,
Shows.
and I was like, I am struggling. Is there a Peyton here?
Yeah.
Is there a Brooke here?
Not
Ugh,
really.
not
Not
really.
really.
No.
And
No.
I wanted to. Like, I'm like, is there a Haley? Not really. Like, they're Nathan and Lucas. Not really. I don't know.
Not
They're
really.
just, this
And I guess you
show
could
is
say
not the same.
Lucas is kind of like the Seth Cohen, but not really.
Yeah. Right.
And that's just like doing, the indie nerd and the
Mm-hmm.
indie nerd. But
Yeah.
it's so different. It's so different.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was a great question.
It was.
Definitely
Thank you.
thought provoking. And if you have your answers, leave them in the comments. We'd love to read them.